If you are a family photographer, you know that one of the most standard things that you want to capture is everyone looking at the camera and smiling. You want that standard portrait. But a lot of times, if there's any level of stress, the first thing to go during a family shoot is composition. So the dreams of getting epic, beautiful composition with layers and foregrounds and lead lines, all of that kind of melts away because you just need to get something. What I want to propose is if you actually have more confidence in the way that you see and execute capturing captivating composition, you can get so much more accomplished during a family session than you ever imagined. So instead of it being this scarcity mindset of, I just got to get that one decent shot where everyone's happy, it turns into, wow, I'm actually creating epic portraits where they're pulled back and we have lead lines and we have all this beautiful negative space, and it was all intentional. I want to be able to teach you how to do that. And so I'm going to look at a shoot that I did recently. I actually just created and just released, which you've probably heard me talk about on the channel and on social media, but the KJ composition course is out into the world, which is so exciting. This is a course that truthfully took me the longest to create because I procrastinated, because I didn't really fully grasp how am I going to take what naturally happens inside of my head and get it out to other people. But once I sat down, once we workshopped all the different ways to teach people, we found a solution, and I finally have a course where I can allow people to harness the power of composition for themselves. And I've been teaching so much about lighting and editing and posing that I've kind of forgotten and really neglected this part of the shooting process. And this is the part of the shooting process that cannot be overlooked. But yet, in most photography education spaces, it is. Composition is the icing on the cake. It's the polish. It's the thing that makes something not just a standard snapshot that you could get on an iPhone, but truly looks like, man, that person sees something that the normal person that's not into photography, that doesn't have skill, doesn't see. That's the power of composition. And so once I started teaching on it, I created the course. There's over 30 lessons. It's almost like it was so fresh in my mind. Like I just started shooting again, started shooting my children more. I did a few family sessions, and this one family session in particular. Now, it does help that we were in an epic location. It does help that my clients used their family prep guide and actually took my recommendations and wore beautiful outfits that photographed really easily. But there were some things about this shoot that weren't perfect, like the 4-year-old wasn't having it at first. I mean, the first 15 minutes, he wasn't thrilled. There were things about this that were just standard for family portraits. What wasn't standard is coming home with an incredibly full gallery of not just the standard portraits or like basic composition, but pretty epic composition for a family session. Photographers need to go home with one, I would prefer a dozen go home happy shots. Those are the shots that you get home and you're culling and you kind of say to yourself softly when you're culling, like, I can't believe I shot that. That's the type of work that makes you want to keep going. That's the type of work that makes you come alive as a photographer. I want to empower you to see that more when you're photographing families. So what we're going to do is you're going to see me shooting behind the scenes. And I want you to see these little snippets of this shoot because I want you to notice what I'm doing, the steps that I'm taking to capture what I'm envisioning in my brain and making it come to life. And then we're going to go over a few of my favorite images and talk about what makes them next level compared to just the standard images that I feel like is most normal and most common for most photographers. You got it. Here we go. Oh, wow. Mom, throw all your hair over your shoulders so I only see flowy hair. Yes, yes. Oh, that's it. Perfect. Okay, don't you pull anybody over, you guys. Now, as you're walking, Mom and Dad, can you share a kiss while you're walking? Of course you can. Even with the boys, you can. I love it. Keep going. We're going. This is good. Okay, one little kiss shot again. Mom and Dad, there you go. Oh, heavens, that was good. Okay, I'm coming with you. Coming with you. Unless, of course, there's no good light. I'm sweating. Oh, yes, we will. Oh, hey, I am telling you something. Y'all are good at hand holding. You're really good. Now, let's see if there's anything I want to do here because I don't want to go up their private property. Okay, guys, when you walked up the hill, who was the line leader last time? Me. You want to be? Okay, great. You get to hold Mom's hand, and then it's Dad, and then it's Braden. But Miss Katelyn's got to get in position, okay? Don't watch. I'm going to hide. I'm what? Oh, wow. You guys, before you walk, Mom, pull hair over one corner. Before you walk, Dad's looking down at Braden. You're looking down at Coop, and you're laughing. Mom and Dad laughing at each other. And now we're walking nice and slow, nice and slow. Oh, but Coop, oh wait, Coop, you know what? We got to switch sides. Coop, you get with Dad. And Miss Katelyn's got to find shade. Okay, I'm ready. Y'all are walking. He's pulling the family. Good job, Coop. Way to be a leader. Yes, laughing at your daddy. Pulling up the hill. Yes, pulling him up the hill. That's perfect. Brayden, you're laughing at your mama. Cooper, you're doing great. I love it. I love it. I know. Hey, keep going. We got to get to the shade. Guys, look, look, you're going. I got to find shade. Hold on. Oh, guys, this is so good. Okay, everybody freeze. This is going to be the good part. You ready? I want Mom to switch sides with Dad. Okay. For the dress purposes. Oh, Brayden, do you need a picture of that? I think you do. I think you do need a picture of that. Okay, this is what I want to do. You ready? I think line leader days are over, but that's okay. I have a new idea. I want everyone to come this way and I'll tell you where you hit the sweet spot, right? Keep going. Right there, freeze. Brayden, hold your mom's hand. We are going to be line leader for 2 more steps. Dad's holding Mom's hand. Oh, no, you can hold Cooper's hand. Okay, now I want everyone to look down and make sure there's not a tractor coming down there. Mom and Dad are looking at each other, smiling. Okay, now, boys, do you see a tractor? No? You don't? You ready? You're going to lead the whole troop, all of them up here, really slow. Here we go. Everyone's laughing and following Brayden. 1, 2, and 3. Yes. Okay, now you can freeze. I want Cooper. Can you be held by your mama? All right, so let's look at this first image. This is probably one of my favorite images from the whole shoot. And it's the mom's favorite as well. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be blown up somewhere in their home. Why do I love this? I love this because there's a lot going on here. It seems so simple, like just walk down the driveway, but there's a lot of strategy here. For example, why was it not centered? Why did I not have the family centered in the shot? And why are they more right aligned than left aligned or centered? That is because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't capturing too much of this overexposed area. So the more that you head this way, the more you're going to see bright sun. So they are positioned where they are because this is not overexposed and this area is. So that's one reason why I chose the placement of the subject. And the reason why I'm showing this is because there's a lot more thought that goes into something like this than just walk down the path. So they're more right aligned. They're not perfectly right aligned because why? Why are they not all the way right aligned? Because if they were all the way, like let's say right here, which would be more in the sweet spot of this intersection, which I talk about in the composition course, why are they not right here or further over in this area? And that is because if I scooted them over, then I would miss out on the mountains. So I wanted to include the mountains, but I can't have it all. And so I had to have kind of a meet in the middle. So I placed them slightly to the right-hand side so that it doesn't look like it's teetering on like, was that supposed to be symmetrical? No, I meant to have them on this side. I also love that this lead line almost hits. I think if I could have tightened this up, which I talk about the tightening up process, this is more of the advanced level when you're shooting, talk about that in the course. Tightening it up would have taken this lead line and adjusting just a little bit so it was actually hitting the corner. It just, our eyes love it. The human brain loves that when it happens. So I could have tightened that up just a little bit, but overall, we've got a lot of good stuff going on. We've got the lead lines here, which is great. This is a really pretty lead line. This is a lead line that's not necessarily pointing towards the subject, but it's allowing our brain, it's just linear lines pointing towards the area where the subject is. I don't really see a lot of lead lines on the left-hand side, but I do love the glow and I love the layers. So I feel like there's a layer here, a layer here, and a layer here. And on this side, we have them. We have this layer, the orchard layer, we have the field layer, the front hill, and the back hill. And I feel like all these layers are pushing attention towards the subject, towards the couple, the family. So let's keep going. We're going to save that one. All right, let's look at this image. This was actually my sneak peek image that I posted on the drive home. My sister was driving. I was not posting while I was driving. My sister came because she filmed the whole session because, like you just saw, we filmed the whole thing behind the scenes, and you can actually watch the full episode. It will be coming up in the next few months, and you can watch it in our membership. So let's talk about this because, you know, in the video, you saw me back up underneath this tree. So why did I do that? I did that because there's a little slight hill. So I elevated myself. And you can tell that by just looking at the sheer like perspective here. So I elevated myself, and by elevating myself, I was able to see more layers. If I was down on their level, there's actually a whole layer that we would never see. You would never see this layer if I was shooting from their same perspective. So going up on that little knoll gave me a lot better perspective, and it allowed me to fill the frame a lot more, because if I was down on their level, the hillside here would be a little bit lower. Everything would be lower. And so what I love about this are all the layers that are behind them. So I don't have a foreground layer necessarily. I only have background layers, but the background layers are powerful. So let's talk about this. So we have them, we have this hedge line, we have this hedge line, we kind of have this with the house, and then we have the mountain. And then we have this little bit of foreground up here. And everything is creating kind of like these linear lines, and they are just placed in the middle of them. Now, why are they not centered? Well, they could be centered, but there was no symmetrical reason. There weren't like lead lines coming in directly from every side. I think if there were two tree branches, like a tree branch here and then a tree branch over here, then I would have tried to center them right there, but there's no reason to try to center them. Instead, it would have been more powerful, honestly, if they were shot more right here. But if you watch in the video, like if they were scooted down a little bit to the right, because then it would be a stronger, it would be closer to the sweet spot, which I talk about in the rule of thirds. That's another lesson in the course. If they were closer to this sweet spot, this is getting a little messy. Hold on, let me back up so you can fully see. Get rid of all that. If they were closer, this is just very haphazard. If this whole family was closer to this sweet spot and scooted over a little bit, I think the image would have been more impactful. However, with a family shoot, I was doing great just to have the boys not like falling down on the ground and like screaming or laughing. So you got to take what you can get. But my goal was to have them in this quadrant moving, like the movement of her dress even is showing that they're moving towards the open negative space, which is another thing that I teach in the course, where I talk about how when you have a compositional awareness, when you're shooting or when you're placing subjects, you want them to be facing or moving towards the opening, not moving to the edge of the frame. So let's keep going. This was just one. I love this one. I love how pulled back it is. I love that branch. Try to imagine if you didn't have the tree branch. Like try to imagine if we didn't have that, if it was just open sky. The tree branch actually adds a lot of movement down towards the family, and it fills the top of the frame, which would otherwise just be an overexposed sky. It also, from a lighting and location course perspective, this is my diffuser. That one little branch right there, that's how I was able to shoot here. Okay, so if you were in this scenario and you're like, well, I haven't taken your course, I can't see these things. I'm probably not gonna see that the way you see it, right? You might not. I think you would after you take the composition course, because you know what's happening in my head. But if you don't have the ability to invest in that course or take it, then here's some thoughts. You could mess this up by trying to shoot too tight, right? Like you might see pretty light and be like, oh, I should zoom in tight. Well, then think about how many layers you would miss, how many really beautiful visual layers you would miss in the background if you zoomed in really tightly on them. The whole reason this is epic is because it's wide. Another way that you could do this, see the distance from their feet to the edge of the frame. You can't see any except in that far left corner. That's where you see a little bit of the knoll. The fact that it's just the strip of light stone gravel and then their feet, I don't have any unnecessary negative space below them or closest to me. So a lot of people, this is a really common problem. They just have unnecessary negative space in the bottom of their images. And so that's a way that you can mess this up. It's not even messing it up. It's just you're stripping the power away compositionally because you don't recognize that you're doing all these little things that are taking away the impact. So you may think, well, Katelyn, you talk about in the course about how you should be like pushing more emphasis towards the subject. And that's true. So you might say, well, Katelyn, then why don't you just zoom into them? Like you want to focus on them, zoom in. But the beauty of intentional composition is taking all of these compositional resources, which there's a whole lesson about that in the course, compositional resources, being able to see them. You have to take your resources. You got to take your lens, what you're shooting with. You got to take the light and where you can actually shoot and still get good light, and find a way to puzzle piece them together to have the highest level of impact. In business, I teach entrepreneurs that you've got to figure out your highest level of contribution. So as an entrepreneur, you can't contribute to everything and everyone at a high level. There are specific gifts that you have, and you've got to figure that out. In every image, there's a highest level of composition. And that is figuring out what is, or like in real estate, the highest and best use. That's a term that you use for looking at a piece of land or a property and saying, how could I get the most money out of this parcel? How, in every image, can I get the best compositional impact with what I have to work with? How can I piece it together? In this scenario, it's being able to see that I need to keep the layers. I'm going to add movement. I'm not going to have unnecessary negative space. And I'm going to make sure I can use as many lead lines as possible while still accessing great light and a natural pose. That's a lot. But when you have a system and you understand how to see things differently, it will start to come naturally. It will just be a part of what you see while you're shooting. But you have to be trained. You don't necessarily naturally see this. Some people do. Some people naturally see composition. I think I am one of them. I've always naturally seen this, but it took a lot of years and a lot of practice to be able to implement this. And I would even go so far as to say it has taken me some time to be able to do this in family sessions because I'm not in control as much as I am in weddings. So if I can learn this 14, 15 years into my career, you can learn this too. Overall, my whole purpose in showing you all this is to explain that these simple, beautiful images that are fun family portraits, there's a lot of thought that went into it. But what's cool is that all of this thought that I just explained to you was happening subconsciously in my brain. I was not like literally saying to myself, the tree and the cars, and I want to see them out. I'm visually accomplishing it while I'm talking and laughing and interacting with my clients, which you saw in the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.